Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. And today we actually have the youngest guest in the history of this podcast, which I'm very pleased to have, Mr. Mike Wimmer. Hello, Mike. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm very, very good.
Awesome.
I'm jealous, actually, because what you have more robots in your Zoom area than I do. Because I've only got one. If you're looking on YouTube, I've only got one robot over my shoulder. Yeah, from the robots from 2005. But you've got multiple robots.
Yeah, I got many robots, and this is just the beginning. There's some over there, some over there. There's tons of them.
So are you in your studio then? It's like you're in a studio or in your bedroom, or is it?
So this is my basically my desk area. Yeah, where I do a lot of my work and a lot of my software all happens here. That's where I do everything. Yeah, so yeah, it's much like a studio. Absolutely,
It's like your command center.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a mini Cape Canaveral. Yeah,
exactly. That's right.
Okay. So where are you joining us from today? Whereabouts are you in the world?
Salisbury, North Carolina. So it's about an hour an hour north of Charlotte, actually, East Coast.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, as I said in my little intro, you are the youngest guest ever, and I'm pleased. You're actually younger than my sons. My sons are Ben and James, 15 and 17. Or 17 and 15, respectively. So I'm pleased to have you on the show, because actually I'm going to show you on this episode, and they're going to go, What? Mike got on the show before me? Yeah, that's the plan.
Awesome.
So for all those people that don't know you Mike Wimmer, obviously, if they don't, it's going to be kind of like, what? You don't know Mike Wimmer? Could you kind of introduce yourself and explain a bit about yourself? What
yeah. Awesome. Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I'm Mike Wimmer. I'm a 12-year-old tech entrepreneur and startup founder. And actually, an interesting tidbit about me is that I'll be graduating high school in May. And, on the technology side of things, I really always had an affinity toward it because it was an outlet to drive all of my learning. So whether that was a math subject, or whether that was just typing in general, it was driving my learning no matter what. And I would really love to come home from school on a program, or build on like a project or whatever I was currently interested in at the time. But then, of course, I am 12, so I still like doing 12-year-old things, playing video games, basketball. It's almost swim season again here, so I'm excited for that. Legos, Hot Wheels, and I'm huge IMSA sports car racing and exotic car buff as well.
All right. Well, what was it? What was the last one? What was the car racing you said? What was that called?
IMSA sports car racing. So that's the Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Corvettes, all of them racing together in all these endurance races. Like, take, for example, Le Mans, the 24 Hours Le Mans, and 24 Hours Daytona over here. So there's many different awesome races I go to.
Oh, you have to enter. Well, you have to get a car and enter the Gumball Rally. Have you heard of the Gumball Rally?
Yeah, I've heard about the Gumball Rally for sure. Yeah.
So some of my friends many years ago, they entered the Gumball Rally with a Rolls Royce.
Oh wow!
Richard and Ezra, yeah, and then they proceeded to try and race with Jody Kidd, who's in a Lamborghini in Eastern Europe. I think it was somewhere in Czech Republic or something. And then they were going down this dual carriageway, and they suddenly realised that there was a lorry in front of them, and they kind of basically smashed the Rolls Royce into the central reservation. So the actual video is on YouTube. So yeah, that was so. I think that the moral of the story is don't take a Rolls Royce in the Gumball Rally. But anyway,
right. Yeah, I would definitely love to do it one day. That's for sure.
Well, if you're already thinking about it now, you see, and talking about Lamborghinis and Corvettes, you see, then you're on your way already. So. So you mentioned that you were obviously 12 years old, and you're graduating, you said, in May, this year, 2021?
Yes, that's correct.
That's like in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, so May 28th, I'll be graduating high school, but actually an interesting thing also is I'll be graduating with a 2-year associate's degree from the community college on May 21st. So there's a lot of interesting graduations going on.
So you get a degree as well as your high school diploma as well?
Yes. So 2-year associates from the community college as well. Yeah.
Wow. So what would you, does that mean you would next go to university then or something?
Yeah,
Or are you going to, given you're a startup founder, are you going to bypass university? Say, I don't want to go to university.
There's a lot of, I'm weighing all my options really, because again, I am a startup founder. So there's a high possibility of, hey, do I just take a break and go to build my startup? Or, of course I have applied to college as well. So, do I go to this college? I've been declined some, been accepted some, been waitlisted some, and even some didn't even let me apply in the first place. So really? I've gotten it all. I would actually, if I went to college, most universities would take me at the third year as a junior because I already have this 2-year degree, which, of course, with all of these colleges, like everything else in my life, age is the biggest obstacle. They're like, oh, what's the 12-year-old kid, he shouldn't be able to go through our program or something to that effect. But reliability issues, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on, right? But that's I'm weighing all my options for sure.
It's interesting. So you're saying that obviously, you are, I suppose, obviously ahead of your normal year or years, yeah.
Right.
But what you're saying is that in those discussions that people have, there's some, I won't say prejudice, but some bias come out, or some kind of rules that are, I'm not saying cast in stone, but they're basically, those rules are saying, oh, we can't do that because of this. We can't do that because of this. Is that what you've been finding? Is that right? Or
there's a lot of age discrimination for sure. There's a lot of 12-year-olds shouldn't be able to handle our rigorous program, and if he goes through it, then that makes our institution look less, I guess you could say, rigorous. So and there's a lot of that for sure. It happens a lot.
Is there a particular place you'd like to go to then?
There's not a specific place in mind quite yet. If I've applied to so many because of my age, of course, you never know who's gonna take a chance, if you will, on a 12-year-old to give me a shot to show what I know. So I never really had my hopes up on anywhere because I knew it was going to be a problem. But still waiting on a few decisions and scholarships, and we'll see how it plays out.
It's interesting because if you think about it, I think if you look back in history, though, there is quite a lot of entrepreneurs, famous entrepreneurs who have actually not gone, they've actually either started and then dropped out, or they've not started or just avoided it completely. So, it wouldn't be a particular, as I would call, anti-pattern to say, you come to this stage where you say, okay, fine, I'm going to continue with my, the stuff that you talked about a bit earlier, which is this kind of startup stuff, which... obviously,
I've actually applied for a Peter Thiel fellowship where he would give, you know what that is. So basically, that's definitely an option because, hey, do I grow my startup instead and see how go through that path and see how that goes? So it's going to be an interesting thing. Do I go with the Thiel fellowship if I get it, and 2 years not to go to school, or do I go to school for 2 years because I already have a 2-year degree? So there's a lot of different routes I could go, and I feel
like you're at a crossroads, isn't it? Really, yeah.
Exactly.
But it sounds like you've already got some options. So if you're trying to explain, obviously this is the G&T Sessions podcast, right? So it's about growth, personal growth, business growth, technology, which we'll come on to in a little bit. But you kind of going down a route. You said you'd obviously it sounds like you've incorporated a company. Is that right? With your parents' help.
Yeah, so I actually have 2 companies, my first one being Next Era Innovations, and my newest startup, which is going to be my main focus, is Reflect Social. And Reflect Social is going to be a great IoT integration software that's also going to bring in some more fun and social factors into it as well, because I see we have all these 15 smart home devices and 15 apps to control every one of them. And I think what Reflect Social does is really simplify all this down into one easy-to-use service, but then also the fun and social aspect that it brings to the equation. So Reflect will actually be heading to beta testing in a few weeks, and I'm excited to see how everybody reacts to it.
Oh, right. Okay. So you got to like a beta release already. Fantastic. Have you been building that? Have you been the engineer behind that, or have you been working with a team? Or
So basically I have, and I can kind of give you a little bit of background how everything started. So my mom has spinal surgery and she couldn't get off out of the couch or out of the bed very easily to see if someone was at the door. So what I did was I connected a Ring doorbell and a smart door lock together with the facial recognition algorithm that I built. And it would recognize the 5 most common family members that would come and check on her. So it would recognize their face and unlock the door so she wouldn't have to get up.
Okay.
And it was through that experience of what I created that I noticed there's a whole lot of just no standardization at all in the entire smart home IoT world.
Yeah.
So from there, I expanded it to a bunch of different devices, and it became Horizon OS, which is the back end for Reflect Social. But I have actually built Reflect Social, both the back end and the front, all proof of concept out and everything. So it's, taught myself MERN development and to build the front end and had the back end already ready with Horizon OS. So it's definitely been a great learning experience. But then also, I'm also the businessman. So I'm the CEO and the CEO all in one.
So you're a bit like Two-Face in Batman, aren't you? Can right. No, I'm like the technical founder. No, I'm some of the business founder.
Exactly right.
Well, so what you're saying is that actual situation with your mum, with her spinal injury, that kind of really that forced you working out, being creative to build something that she could to really help her.
Yeah, I really wanted to help her in some way because, of course, I was at school and Dad was at work, so we really couldn't help her directly in any way. So it was definitely my whole entrepreneurial goal is to build technology that enables people to live better and safer lives. So that was just one example of how I could apply my goal to her directly, of course, being my mom, right? And I really like helping people. And that's really the drive behind Horizon OS and Reflect Social in the back end.
And how long ago was that then? Was that how many years ago was that?
That was in May of 2018.
Okay. Wow. So that's like 3 years ago. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of evolved a lot since, for sure.
So what you're saying is Horizon OS, you're saying you built your own operating system effectively, which can be...
Yeah. 2 years ago when Mom had spinal surgery, 2019, sorry. It feels like it was that long ago with COVID, right? Let's see. Basically, I built it all myself. It's a full operating system that can combine every IoT device, regardless of brand, protocol, whatever. I can talk to them all. I'm the big intermediary translator, basically.
Fantastic. And it's a bit like, so what you're saying was so say, obviously not myself, but say, one of your family went up to the door, it would effectively do what computer vision, like a kind of face ID on the structure of the face, and then index that or check it to the database and say, aha, ding, or bing, or boom. Yeah. So is that the kind of process you were doing?
So yeah, basically it was fun not only to integrate with the IoT devices, but also to get some more of the face recognition stuff. Because I know there's a lot of talk now about how Apple does it with their Face ID is the fact that you can hold up a picture and it won't unlock, but if you hold up your face, it will unlock. So that was really one of the drives that I had was somebody can't hold up a picture and unlock the door. That's a very, very important thing. So yeah, it would, using my face recognition system, it would unlock the door. If again, we'll check the database and say, hey, yeah, I think that person should be good. Let's unlock the door. Or say, for example, it was a delivery person or someone it didn't know came up to the door. It would make sure the door was locked. Not that they were in any way bad, but it would just make sure the door was locked. And if it detected someone and made sure the door was locked, it would send a picture to me and Dad and say, hey, someone's at the door. Would you like me to unlock the door? Just in case someone came in to check on her and they were supposed to come in.
Right.
So yeah, that's really
that's pretty advanced. That's pretty advanced because I've spent a couple of decades in telecoms and mobile.
Right.
And so it's not just the software you've developed; it's also the hardware as well, and I presume the connectivity between to talk to the devices. Yeah.
Yeah, so this was quite just one example of the Horizon OS operating system, and really I saw it also for applications for, say, the blind, to give them more independence, so that they don't have to have someone looking at the door constantly. Right. There's a lot of different, or handicap. There's a lot of different applications just for that example, but that's really one example of the power of connecting a bunch of devices together.
Really interesting. So I suppose, I mean, just to go back in a little bit of history, but I mean, obviously you're extremely talented, right, and gifted. I mean, with the stuff you've built already. But what was the? I know you talked about it a bit earlier, but what was the trigger? Was there something happened in your single digit childhood when that kind of caused you to say, "Wow, this is something I really want to get involved in, the computer science and understanding how computers work, and obviously working with the robots you got behind you." Well, what was the thing that happened? Was there kind of like a light bulb moment that happened on your head, or what happened?
So it was I always had an affinity toward technology. So it was really, even at 18 months old, my first iPad. I just loved technology in general.
18 months old with an iPad? Really? Oh my God.
I learned my ABCs, how to write letters, the states and their capitals, etc. And it was really this cool thing where I could just learn stuff, and I loved to learn. And it just so happened that it was this technical thing that was the iPad. And and I really tried to learn, like, well, how does, when I click this app, it opens the app, or when I click settings, it opens this. How does it work?
Right.
I want to see what's behind it. And it's I was a big Lego fan, still am today, and I got the Lego Mindstorms at age 5, and that was really my first programming instance, but really where I combined this.
You got a Lego what? Sorry, you got a Lego what? Sorry, at 5. What was it called?
Yeah, Mindstorms.
Mindstorms. What's that then?
So it's the Lego robot that you can program, and that's really a really introduction to programming robot that you can build, and with the brick and everything.
Okay, so it's like a physical representation that you can actually code as well. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. I need to catch up with my Lego knowledge, obviously, based on that.
Yeah. So I got that at age 5. And I built a Rubik's Cube solver. Actually, I was kind of my capstone with the Mindstorm, and where it would scan the cube on all sides, and then it would turn the motors and solve the cube. And it was really a great experience, because I would work so hard on it. It wouldn't work. And I was like, I just got to stay up one more time, Mom. And it finally worked. And it was definitely a great motivation to, keep failing, right? Keep failing, because it will lead to your success. So that was definitely
you're on a mission. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, in general, it was that combination that also I want to learn more about programming. So it got me into Python, and it really just took me off from there.
And are your parents like technology kind of,
No, my dad's a custom home builder, and my mom says that her full-time job is me, but bussing me around everywhere, right? But yeah, they're in no way technical backgrounds. Taught myself everything I know, so no formal training here.
Wow.
Online videos, trial and error, and again, like I said, I kept failing until I finally got success. So that was kind of how I've learned everything I know.
So those different cohorts, like there's millennials and there's Gen Z, and so I suppose you're kind of, are you Gen Alpha? I think you're Gen Alpha, right? So you went to Z, and I think it goes back to A again. Is that right?
Right.
Are you on the cusp? I think you're on the cusp of Gen Z. Is that right?
I think so. It's like you said, on the cusp of Gen Z. I think that's what I think. 2008. So sounds about right. But yeah,
I think because I was talking to one of my other guests, Jackie, and she was talking about obviously the different relationships, the different age ranges have got to technology, know, with the millennials and then the Gen Z, and I think the Gen Alpha. As you gave a specific example, like you analogized as being 18 months with an iPad. Yeah, I mean that's like, my 2 boys have got iPads, but they got them when they were about, well, not that many years ago, but it wasn't when they were 18 months old, because I don't think they existed when it was 18 months old. So I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? It's about the relativity of access to iPhones, iPads, etc., etc. It's part of the DNA of the home, I suppose, now, and it's part of people. You see something on TV, you see something on the internet, and you go, I would like to use that. So, but you've taken it to a new level. You're not just a user; you actually can drive it as well. You can program it. So, I mean, that's
There's actually a funny story about me and my iPad. So I would watch these. There's actually a British guy who did these toy reviews on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, my parents didn't really want me on YouTube that much because of all the crazy stuff that's on there. And parental controls they set on the iPad, so I wouldn't go on YouTube. So then, we're just kind of sitting around, and I hear the British guy again. Then Mom asked Dad. She said, "I thought you turned that off." She's like, "I did." and then. So they're like, Mike, how'd you do that? And I'm like, well, I went through Disney on the back end. Then I was able to went through the back end to get to YouTube. So I basically indirectly went through and got there. So so instead of the parental controls in my house really means, hey, Mike, you will not go on the internet without our supervision. And it's very...
stop. It's like hashtag stop hacking the house.
Exactly, right?
It's interesting because I think so I worked in telco, and one of the things we did when I was at a couple of telecoms companies was we were looking at the use case like connected home. Yeah, so you're trying to connect. Yeah, you're trying to put a SIM. Well, you put your broadband to a home, and then obviously you are providing connectivity to them to get on the internet.
Right.
But then, as you identified, and you just explained in your introduction, there's this proliferation of devices. There's this workload payload in the actual house. And there's loads of applications as well. So is it, that thing about actually having, you could say like one command console to aggregate it all together, but then also to kind of devolve the data as well? Is it, how do you describe that?
So, it's really, again, it's that aggregate, as you say, command console, right? And it's very hard to control all that stuff for sure. Because say, one IoT device is Zigbee, but another IoT device is HTTP, another one's Bluetooth. So it's all like a combination of different protocols, different how they talk to each other.
The different standards, yeah.
Exactly, right. And that's really why I made this, is so that it's easier for people to use. Because if you can just drag over some stuff the same way, then it's a whole lot easier to use and to aggregate together. So that's really the point of it, is really to just make it a whole lot easier to where, say, like my grandmother could use it, right? That's kind of what we want, the simplification of things.
And in your experience, you have to obviously go into the detail of this, but obviously some of the people I know in the tech industry, if they work at Google, for example, look after Android. So do you find certain environments and certain platforms are easier to integrate to, or
absolutely,
yeah.
Yes, some companies reveal the API that they can use for everyone, and some want to keep it kind of close to the vest. So there's, and some of like the API is super easy to use, and the one that's super weird and difficult. So there's a lot of, definitely some are easier to integrate than others. But I really think that the future will be, we all finally have some form of standardization. They're all on board and they want to communicate together. But so for now, we will be the intermediary between them all.
Interesting. Yeah, one of the other questions I got with you was about with your school and with your kind of friends and peer group. How does that work? How are you finding that? Obviously you're doing more and more advanced things in your, if you could say, your curriculum,
right?
But I presume do you have friends at different age ranges, or how does that work?
So I actually have friends back when I was going the normal speed, I guess you could say, the normal pace. Still friends with them, and we talk about racing and cars and video. We play video games together. So I still have friends my own age, and then I have my second tier, which is my high school friends, which I guess you could say I can dial up the get vocabulary, right? And then I have my colleagues where I can really dial up the vocabulary and everything. But say with my peers, friends, I don't really talk about how my KPIs are doing with my company or my ROI is. I talk about racing and sports cars and kid stuff.
Yeah.
But then I can maybe dial that stuff up for my high school friends. It's the same kind of thing goes on and on and on.
And do you find that your friends are interested in what you're doing, and are they trying to learn from you, or are they kind of not interested? They're kind of doing a different thing? There's always
they're supportive. They think it's kind of cool, but they don't really understand what's going on and how it applies to things quite yet. But they are very, oh, cool, Mike. Hey, cool, Mike's working on something cool. It's kind of like that. That's the kind of the thing that. But I'm like, hey, my startup's going good. Cool. That's the kind of.
Have you found any kind of other people that are kind of similar age across the world that are kind of doing, at your stage, or are you, have you found like a tribe, you could say, of people at similar age that you're finding kind of you talk to as well, or is that?
Not really. I really haven't found anyone quite like me yet, but would like to, because
we're all special. So
exactly, that's right.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. So so in terms of, given obviously I could say, compared to me, you're at the start of your journey. So, but I'm very impressed how articulate you are, and obviously how the stuff you've learned already. If you were, I suppose, talking about some kind of things that you've, obstacles you've come across so far. It sounds like the main thing has been around maybe some of the, I don't want to say prejudice, but bias or rules that you've had to cope with because of where you are in your journey and this. You call it age discrimination, but kind of a perception that if you're a certain age that you must be at a certain level, and it's a bit. It's kind of like I read that people are saying, well, you can't be as advanced as that. You've got to be at a certain level. You can't be here on the timeline. You should be a few. You see you in 5 years, kind of thing. Is that one of the main obstacles you've come across so far, and any other things you'd like to share?
Yes, there's been a lot of obstacles that I've had, and many of them, again, are surrounding my age. Again, it's like, all right, you shouldn't be able to do that stuff. So exactly. See you back in 5 years. No. There's a lot of, I get that a lot for sure, and it's really, they consider it as, are they going to take a chance on a 12-year-old, when really, if they look past the age, then just look at all my accomplishments.
Look at what you achieved, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, and just look past it. And I guess just because that I've got to this point at a faster pace doesn't mean I'm not the same thing as someone who is at the same level as me. And it's definitely a difficult thing to do, but I'm gonna have it for a long time now. But I've learned to kind of put that stuff behind me and move forward. And
that's very good.
But one of the biggest things that my parents really instilled in me was show what you know, and it was show what you know in order to gain the respect of others. To show, hey, I do know my stuff, and that's really an important tool for me to have, because these big organizations say, or these big universities say, he can't do that stuff. Well, look at my soft skills. You can look at my accomplishments. You can look at all of these things and say, hey, let's look past the age. So there's a lot of obstacles, and there's a lot of downs, but I still look toward the ups. But there's some that won't look past the age. It's like a barrier that they won't just get over, and that's all right, because they're lost, right?
No, exactly. It's incredible attitude. Just keep doing that. The mindset, I think, is incredibly important. When you're going through that, and just keep going. Hashtag.
Right.
But don't give up. Hashtag. The thing I was just thinking when you were talking was actually a bit like if you were. I'm not saying you were in a game show, but say you had a screen, here, and then you said, okay, and you have two people. You had maybe an 18, 25-year-old, three screens, 18-year-old, 25-year-old, and you, and then you go, okay, these are a list of accomplishments of what this person has achieved in the last, since he was born, Right. And then you go, okay, guess which contestant has actually achieved this massive list of things you've done. It's running a startup. Yeah, that'd be an interesting little video to watch, wouldn't it? And see if the audience could pick and work out actually who had done what. Yeah, because
exactly.
it raises that point about, will reset your expectations, reset your mind about what's possible.
If I had a scholarship or something to that effect in the future, I would not put age as a question, because I don't care. I don't care how old you are. I don't care at all. I don't care whether you're 10 or you're 100.
Well, put it this way, Mike. My birthday is in 2 weeks, and I'm
awesome.
I'm multiple. I'll tell you offline. I'm not telling you on this episode how old I am, but I'm significantly older than you. but I would say age is just a number.
Exactly.
So keep going.
Well, happy early birthday.
I keep saying that myself, you see, and then my sons say, Andrew, Dad, you are quite old now, and I go, no, I'm not. Anyway, that's another topic, not for today. So thanks for sharing that. I mean, I think it really, when I was thinking about this episode before I came on, I was thinking, what are the kind of things that you've come across, and I think it is about, mindset and your mental attitude is incredibly important, because you're going to get these things put in front of you. And I think, I really, really genuinely I'm amazed and impressed with what you've done. I mean, I can only wish you all the well and all the power to do what you could do. I mean, I don't think of what you're going to achieve by the time you're my age. It doesn't bear thinking about. Maybe we should write that down on a future episode.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
No, it's true. It's true. I mean, I got involved in this kind of tech industry quite a few decades ago, and when I got involved in it, people were going. I mean, what tech wasn't what it is today. I mean, people were saying, "Why are you doing that?" It's what a weird thing to do. And now it's like it's cool, it's sexy. Yeah, it's like, oh, you're not in tech. I mean, what's going on? It's like it's quite
right. Yeah, you don't have technology. What's up with that?
Yeah, exactly. Are you okay? You feeling all right? You don't know nothing about technology. Right. So it's amazing how it's turned around. And it's no, I mean, it's completely. I didn't think it was going to blow up like it has done, but every day, I mean, it's just incredibly vibrant, isn't it? I mean, there's something happening every day around the world, and somebody's coming up with a great idea. Somebody's just setting a startup up, getting some funding or funding it himself and just making it happen. So, I mean, have you been to see some venture capitalists or private equity firms and talked about funding and stuff like that? Have you been through all that?
Yeah, that's kind of one of the next steps. Is I've pitched several different people. Okay. That's kind of I'm bootstrapping it all right now, but when we first kind of roll out, we will need some funding for first round big funding, so we can get the marketing and everything out there. Yeah. So exactly, scale. So.
Just make sure you don't give away too much equity.
Right. Oh, I've thought about that. No, don't you worry. I've thought about that.
Get that spreadsheet right.
Yeah, that's why I've been bootstrapping it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I no, I mean, it's incredible. I love this conversation. It's amazing. I mean, it's just the stuff you've learned in such a short time. It's my mind's blowing up already. Anyway. In terms of, I suppose, one thing, given you're so connected to, what is going on. I mean, obviously, there's I don't think there's many. Well, there is other people of your age that have got robots in their obviously in their room or their studio, their command center. But I suppose in terms of the future, what is there any kind of thoughts on what are you seeing as the kind of the big things that you could see in, by 2025, by 2030? Any thoughts on what you see as the big things that are going to happen or are going to transpire, you could say?
I think I've thought about the future a lot, been asked that question several times. And really my thoughts are, this future is to have a single avatar that's kind of controls your life. Like Alexa kind of does now, halfway. Mm-hmm. But it controls all these single task robots that can do their individual things. So take, for example, one of the big things now is the iRobot and the Roomba, the vacuum. And, it say, hey, Alexa, or whatever it's going to be now, vacuum my floor. Well, Alexa doesn't know how to vacuum the floor. It just tells whatever the robot is to vacuum the floor. And it has that specialized sensors and everything that it knows how to vacuum the floor.
Right.
So there's that's kind of my thoughts, because, some people try to make a robot that can do it all, and others try to make a robot that can do a single task. So I think if we kind of combine the two and say, have one avatar that can do it all, maybe not can do everything to the best way, but can do it. And then we have each single task robots. And then that avatar becomes like our companion that we talk with every day, kind of thing. Maybe companion for our aging population. So there's a lot of possibilities. It's almost like the whole Alexa IoT smart home version on steroids, really. Because really every single task robot is an IoT device in each individual task. Vacuum the floor, okay, cool, and it knows how to vacuum the floor itself. So that's kind of the big smart home thing, right? And really, I think we're really about to start this new era of technology, because in the 10 years, the majority of the world's population will have been around technology for the majority of their lives, right? I mean, really, technology, you could say, really started to boom in 2007 when the iPhone came out. So there's a lot of, in 10 years, most of the people are going to have been around technology, right? I think getting people, even the older population, more comfortable using technology, it'll make their lives easier and better. And along with the background to the development side, with more processing power coming out, NVIDIA's making stuff every day, right? And AI, and we begin to see these robots that can help the lives of more and more people before, say, 2025 or 2030.
Yeah, I mean, it's I suppose what you're saying there is depending on the complexity of the task,
right?
And what does a single task robot do? What does a kind of more functional robot do? And then what does the human do? And how do they coexist in a kind of a frictionless world? Is that kind of what you're thinking? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts of how we can handle this, because we can't make a robot that can vacuum the floor, do the dishes, cook that's making the robot that can do all that. But make a robot that can do some of that stuff, but not all of it, to the same point of like a human, for example. And then he can tell the individual robots to do the same.
The funny thing is, you see, is a lot. I mean, I've spoken about this on a few other episodes. Is that when you look at the stuff, like robots film, like the Terminator films, it's amazing how creative, or how, I don't know. It's a bit like, what is it? It happens in Hollywood, and then it happens all around the world after that. It's amazing how ahead of, how the futuristic they actually had created those concepts and delivered those concepts into the screen. It's quite
right. There's a lot of those things, those special effects, and those that really kind of make it where people think, oh, the Terminator is going to take over the world. We should stop doing AI. But then people really don't know that AI is image classification and object detection kind of stuff. There's no thoughts yet. But so it's definitely a long way from that, as but people don't think, because again, those movies came out in the 80s. People think we should be there by now. And there's a lot of things like that. So it's going to be a hard thing to move the perception back over to the world of here's where we actually are.
Yeah, I mean, I had Patrick on last year, Patrick Bangert, who he works for Samsung,
right.
And Samsung SDS, doing machine learning at scale. And then also Maria from PwC came on. She's she's doing responsible AI and ethical AI. So this kind of like, it's the human and machine interface. How do you get the oversight? So it's interesting how. But then, as you're pointing out, I think you're touching on that point where in the media, it sometimes can be, I'm not saying misrepresented, but it can be blown up into something that maybe it's not. And for people who are not maybe as technically aware or competent or knowledgeable, then, it can be misread. It could be misread about, what, because people, I remember Patrick said to me last year, he said, if people think that AI is coming, it's already here. You're already using it day to day. It's like it's in your hand. It's in the iPhone. So it's just, I think it's this thing about degrees of understanding of what that really is, and what the who needs to know the detail and who needs to know what the usability is for a consumer. I suppose it's a different spectrum, isn't it?
Yeah, the AI has grown to be a very general term nowadays because we apply it to this
catch-all, isn't it? It's like a catch-all.
Yeah. Yeah, we apply to the Terminator, then we also apply it to this face ID on our phone. So there's got to be some kind of line there. But really, I think there needs to be some form of like FDA or World Health Organization for these AI and robotics that approves these robots for say the public. That way, we can approve how user approval, all the things kind of like food and drugs are done right now.
Yeah, rather than what you see, you got to kind of bring Skynet to work. I mean, so it's going to be like FDA, the Fed, and Skynet. There you go, sat together.
Right.
Fantastic. So, I mean, is there any particular things that you, have learned, I suppose, in your short time on this planet that you would like to share? I mean, if this, I can't wait to share this episode with my sons, and obviously publish it on all the audio and YouTube platforms that we've got out there. But
awesome.
What if you were kind of talking to, people of your age and people that are younger? What kind of advice would you give to them today? I mean, it's obviously you're already you're still on your journey, but it sounds like you've traversed a hell of a long way already.
Thank you. I think the advice that I would follow is to whatever believe and just follow what you believe in and really what you're passionate about, because it's a very general subject, but it's very true because you need that idea or that drive, that want that really gets you up in the morning, and you want you want to see your idea succeed. You want to see it impact people. So that's really a really important thing that I would think. And if you really work hard and believe in yourself, then the money will ultimately find you. Just don't worry about it right now. And that's kind of what I think as well, is because am I getting a salary? No. Am I actually using it? No, because I'm just pouring it right back in as a keep growing the company, keep going from there. So. And I would say also surround yourself with likely-minded people and passionate about the same thing. And
the classic Jim Rohn quote. Yeah, it's like 5 people. Yeah.
And then the final thing I would say is there's no better way to learn something than just hop in and do it. But that's how I've learned everything I've done. It's how you want to build a startup. Okay, let's do it. That's just how you do it. You just hop into it. That's how I've learned.
Dive in the swimming pool and start swimming. Yeah,
exactly. That's how I've learned everything I know.
It's admirable. It really is admirable. I'm proud of you. I can't wait for Ben and James to see this episode, because I think it's truly inspirational to get people to do this. And all I can do is wish you all the best with what you're doing. I mean, it's fantastic. And we should make a date in the future to check in, and we can get you back on the show, and you can explain what else you've done. So
that would be awesome.
I don't think what you've done. Maybe you'll have it really will be a command center. You'll be like sat in a data center somewhere. This is like Mike's data center. Beam me up. Have you had chance to meet any people, any tech celebrities in the last few years? Then have you had any chance to bump into some people we may know in the industry?
So I think the biggest tech celebrity, if you will, that I've met, and actually still I'm a really good friend with, is Adam Wilson. You may know him from the Microsoft Surface Pro 6 commercial. He founded Sphere Robotics, and he and I are actually, he's on the advisory board for Reflect, and he and I kind of chat and bounce ideas off each other every week or so. So definitely been a great asset to have, but would love to meet a whole lot more people. I'm always open to opportunities, that's for sure. Anything I can get. I want to have lunch with Elon, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I would love to.
He's pretty active on Twitter, so I'm sure if you send him a direct message, I'm sure he'd respond to you. Yeah.
Well, we both are those out of the box thinkers, right? We don't put us in a box. We, who thought you could land a robot on a barge in the middle of the ocean? The most crazy idea ever, right? But it works. Yeah. But those out of the box ideas is really the what drives me to him, and then the other people as well. Is the out of the box approach really?
So I mean, I suppose in is that I suppose that phrase about having a poster child, or a pop star or a kind of an icon. So right. What you're saying is Elon's up there as one of the people that I suppose you look at, because he's quite a technical kind of guy, isn't he? He's got quite a technical background.
I think he's got the out of the box approach. He has the technical background, but he also has some of the best marketing in the world. You can't tell me that the Cybertruck Windows crash thing wasn't on purpose. It's one of the greatest marketing schemes of all time, right? It creates a buzz. So
what does he spends? I think he spends this on Tesla. Was it Tesla marketing? Zero. I think he's got zero on the marketing budget.
Yeah. I kind of value my companies as well to his. Reflect Social is my PayPal, and right. I'm going to make my Tesla or SpaceX later. So that's kind of where I really compare to him a lot, especially for the out of the box ideas a lot.
Mm. Yeah, it was called X.com, wasn't it? I think originally, is that right?
I think it was X.com, or was it Zip2 or something? I think it was Zip2.
Mm. That's when there was some domain names left. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Elon's up there. Who would be top three then? Anybody else? Because you've got Adam up there, obviously Adam Wilson, Elon. Yes. Who else would you?
Steve Jobs is one of my another one, because he was really that visionary, and then also that idea of let's make something that everybody wants, which is why everybody has one of these in their hands now, because everybody uses it. It appeals to everyone. So that's really what that out of the box idea of let's combine all these things together and see what happens.
Yeah,
it was a great thing, and I kind of mixed in Wozniak as well, because they were both hand in hand in the development of all this stuff. But yeah, that's really my top three visionaries of the world, if you will.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting how also, I mean, I've just done some stuff on platform businesses. I've just been looking at platform businesses, and it's interesting how what this study came up with was, I think, 10 or 20 years ago. The top companies were all oil companies, energy companies, and like top 10 companies that are from a valuation point of view. But now they're actually they're all platform companies. So there's this kind of platform economy where people are trying to work out how to be platforms. Where they've got like a marketplace effectively. So it's very interesting when you look at the data and you see that swing. I think you're aware of it, but then you don't see the data, and then you see the data and you go, wow, it's obvious. It's obviously it's here today, and who knows what's going to be in the future? I mean, I haven't got a crystal ball, but it sounds like there's going to be some robots here. Yeah, we like robots. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, robots a very interesting term for sure.
Or maybe you get the robots that don't talk back to you. Silent robots and talking robots.
Yeah, right.
Well, all I can say is it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, Mike.
Well, thank you for having me.
No, it's been absolutely. I mean, amazing journey so far. And as I said, I wish you all the very best for what happens in the future. And I'll be tracking, not obviously not tracking through an IoT device, but obviously watching you on the internet. And
thank you.
Maybe we can get an episode where we can get Ben and James and you on the show. That'd be quite interesting. You could actually start to educate them. Show them how to program robots. That'd be interesting. But,
awesome.
Thank you very much for your time, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And that was Mike Wimmer, who is. Well, I think you call yourself CEO. Is that right?
Founder and CEO.
Founder and CEO of Reflect Social. And also, I think you said you got another business as well. What was the other business?
Yeah, Next Era Innovations. That's my first one. And that was kind of, anyone, if you want to find anything about me, you can get my LinkedIn or my website, nexterainnovations.com.
Okay. And you can find, you're on LinkedIn already. I know you're on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And you're on all, I presume, are you not on TikTok though, I presume? Are you on TikTok?
No, I'm not on TikTok. But,
no dancing. There's no dancing on TikTok yet.
Not on TikTok, but I did. Although my company does have a little bit of tie into that, I know where the market is. Not where not maybe certainly where I am. I know where the market is.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I've been banned from putting TikTok videos on dancing videos. I can't put dancing videos on TikTok. I put some dancing videos on LinkedIn, which were kind of quite interestingly received well. So, yeah, watch my LinkedIn post during 2021.
Awesome.
more dancing to come. Well, thank you. That's Mike Wimmer, CEO of Reflect Social and Next Era Innovations, and that was Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. Have an amazing week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.